All right, testing, testing. Oh, I think we have audio now.
We
Sweet.
do.
Yeah. Welcome
Hey.
to this week's What the Heck. What's up, Schmooster, Forrestine, Device X, DJ MJR, and Tim.
And Tim.
Today we have the Rabbit. I'm really stoked about. I don't know if you've seen the Rabbit's like video tutorials on stuff or just like the sick jams that this dude produces, but anyway, another Colorado person that does modular stuff. Pretty rare on here, I think. So let's do intros because I did a terrible one. Who are you and what's your gnarliest module?
Yeah, so I'm the Rabbit. I am, long story short, is I went into music industry like when I was super young, got an audio engineering degree, did all that fun stuff. Totally burnt out on that shit. Left the music industry, and then basically just kind of worked in other fields for a while, and now some like 8 years later, I like got back into music and was like, oh, this is fun when I don't try to make my living off of it. I actually really enjoy it again. So yeah, I got back into modular about 4 years ago. Started just kind of building stuff up, and I would say the gnarliest module would probably have to be probably the Manus Ateritas is like the
The
gnarliest.
Manus.
But I feed it through a Lacrima Versio, which makes it like even gnarlier. So yeah.
I have an interesting story about that one. Uh, that module, the Manus Iteritas, is a module I got because everyone was like, "You should get this module." Right? And I got it, and it sat in my case because the first few sounds I made with it were like, "It's really noisy." Like,
Yeah.
right? And I had listened to demos and stuff, and then there was like an aha moment where I don't know, I was fiddling with it one day, and like it just hit that like it's got a lot of sweet spots, but it hit a very particular sweet spot where I was like, "Oh, this is going in basically everything I make from now on." They were right. It's a cool module.
I was super close to selling it because I was like at a point I was like, God, it's just like I can't get it to fit. And then you just find that sweet spot that like fits your music, and you're just like, oh, all right, yeah,
Right,
this
right.
is sweet. Like, yeah,
Like it wasn't doing it for me on the bass side of things, which is where I usually testing. I notice a lot of like people testing modules. They'll test like in mid range, which is not me. I'm like, how does this sound in a bass line? Like,
yep,
and it was like okay, but then I started using it. It's got somewhere in the middle to high range is just like for me like the magic spot for that module, and it's definitely one of those modules that you can once if you have one or if you listen to enough of it, you can spot in every single track that uses it. um,
yep.
it's got a very specific sound,
It
but
just like gives you the sound of like being like a metal guitarist with a
yeah,
synthesizer. Yeah,
yeah, it's just really good, and I love that sound. So that doesn't bother me. But some folks are, if you're trying to get like different stuff out of it, it's definitely got like a sound, um,
yeah.
more so than the BIA or anything like that.
The thing that I also did, so I put it through the Lacrima Versio, which is like their wah pedal thing,
Yeah,
and that lets me add a lot more flavor to that and still have that like harsh like metally attack, but then start to like really mess with that or like kind of change it up a bit. So that's been giving, I feel like, different tones out of it too. So
yeah. I mean, the filtering will make a big difference, and that one. I think that might be one of the few I don't run through any filters because it just I think one day during a jam session, I think Egon was there or somebody, but like I was like, I'm gonna use this as a snare and see what it sounds like. And that's when I hit that sweet spot. And
mm.
like I've just been using it for like all sorts of like good stuff after that. Just that was a moment when it clicked. Um, I don't think it's my gnarliest module though. Like for me, it's like a really it just makes me happy. It's a joyful module.
It just feels so
uh,
dirty to me that that's what I gravitate toward when I hear
it,
gnarly. So
it is. It is absolutely filthy. I want to say like it's gonna change. The answer's gonna change every day, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
today,
yeah.
it's the crater because I put the crater through. I set my headphones down on the hay packs, which the pads are sensitive enough where that can trigger something.
Mm-hmm.
And I went and put on my other set of headphones, which happened to still be plugged in. And the crater was still going because that was what was being triggered. And it was like the sickest bass ever.
I love those happy accidents.
Through the data bender, right? Like, and it's not that the data bender made a huge difference other than it was like just beating up the already like gnarly heavy sine wave bass line. Probably it was just like a moment of like, oh, okay, I got to make something with this now. My
Yep,
headphones are a better musician than I am. um, yeah, so that was, I think the crater wins today.
that's awesome. I have not tried that one, so I'll have to check that out or look that one up more.
It's,
Yeah.
I mean, as far as drum modules, I think probably like top five. Like if you're looking for like heavy hitting kicks, there's some other ones that I've tried that are pretty amazing. I think the Ultra Kick is an apt name for that one, and like there's just a bunch of really good kicks. So I don't think there's like a whole lot of difference between those. It just like I wasn't even using Crater's what they call it, saturation or something, where it overdrives it a fair amount. Um, like, I don't even think that's necessary for it to be a really solid thing. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. That's I don't even think I did the intro, but yeah, I'm Hex 7.
You make awesome stuff.
Yeah,
So
sometimes you
I'm,
make you make pretty sick stuff too. Like your last few videos have been really very good. And I saw the rabbit is one of like 10 people I've seen in person
yes, at
at,
Freak Boutique, so that was
at Freak
sweet.
Boutique, and that was like the filthiest set I've ever seen. Like
That
you
was
had,
a little too filthy. I think
you
I had to learn to rein it in after that. So
I don't know. I thought it was good. I was just like, oh shit, this dude went flipping hard today. Like,
yeah, I've had to
it's
learn.
cool.
I've been learning like performance more so, and I was like, I need to bring it down to contrast the filthy drops, which I love. I love the like insane intensity, like heavy hitting synth, but that's a phase I'm going through of learning how to like pull it back, build it up, drop it all again, and because I could just smash all day, and that's not really always appealing. So
Yeah, let's talk about drops because that's something that's been on my mind a lot recently. Because like typically, like I don't know if you found yourself doing this, but you get like you touch a big buildup, and then when you go to your drop, it's like either lackluster, or it's hard to do a drop that hits harder than what was just there a second ago. Like, so I'm thinking about like weirder drops lately. So like if you do have a lot of filth, a lot like a noise wall sort of happening type of thing, like
mhm.
what's a good contrast to that? Like, and I think maybe even like a drop to no bass line, like just like have some snares, like no kicks, like that kind of thing, like change
Yeah.
your range that you go from, that kind of stuff. A knowledge drop, that'd be big build up, then silence, and like, if you're shoveling snow, it makes sense to like, like
You should bend at the knees, not at
yeah,
the
yeah,
back. You're gonna have a sore back. Yeah,
yeah.
like that'd be awesome.
Wreck your neck here, not on the shoveling. That's no fun. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, like I think the contrast is really the biggest thing. Like I don't think it because like I've listened to a lot of weird stuff lately where the drops aren't even like they're just weird shit. Like they might drop to from like a lot of stuff to like just like a little plucky thing that has just like a really Spartan bass line, like
Yeah.
really Spartan. Um,
I feel
and
like
it works.
I'm always just like, all right, I'm gonna try to like wait there, hit the end of the bar, and then just like fucking change some shit. And sometimes that works, and sometimes you're like, oh, that sounded awful and lame. Like and so it's just kind of like I feel like for me, I'm just constantly like experimenting with like what can I change, and then what sounds good and what doesn't, and try to like just learn from that is I feel like the way to go. And you know, there's all your go-tos, or like your kicks or your hats or your stuff. But like, I don't know. That's kind of how I'm trying it, and I fail half the time, and sometimes make something that sounds decent. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the key is just like a pretty significant, I think, a significant change. It doesn't like it can be a similar rhythm or whatever, but like, um, I feel like build-ups though, that's like easy peasy. Like I can build up for like 2 hours and
Your
then have no
buildups
drop,
are
and then I'm like, I
yeah.
gotta go.
I
Sorry.
feel like your music is just like a constant buildup, and like I feel like you don't actually do a lot of drops. You just
There's
like
no reward. There's no drop. Everyone's like getting ready to drop, and then like the next line's even more builder. Like, oh fuck, this drop's gonna fucking hit hard. And the drop is me just like, hey, I gotta go. Thanks.
yeah, it's interesting. Like I've just listened to that and been like, wow, like that's it's interesting how you do that, because I always push toward the drop. So how do you think about not having the drop? Do you just then like what do you do then at the end?
The trick to not having a drop is to not being able to come up with a good drop. It's not that I don't want it, and actually, a lot of the time when I'm streaming on like EMS or something, I have only a half baked idea at best when I start, and I'm iterating on that, and that's not super conducive to a drop because I think for a drop to work really well, you probably should have like a preset pattern or something like ready to go in your back pocket. At least that's
Yeah,
what
yeah.
works for me. And I think that's really hard to do while performing live. So that's why sometimes it's just an endless buildup with like a drop to the same drum beat that's already happening or something. Like,
So are you just like, because I now have the Hapax as well, which I think is worth sharing.
yeah.
So are you like just kind of like building up one project, and then you're like, okay, this is built as much as I want. I'm gonna start something simple on a new project, and then it's like build, and then you just like turn off the other project and go to the new one, or how do you do that?
No, I usually, the way I like to do it is around 20, 10 to 20 minute projects,
Okay.
if that makes sense. Like I'm not spending 10 to 20 minutes on them, but I want to be able to play them for 10 to 20 minutes. And it can feel like multiple tracks sometimes, but that allows me to have a lot of fun with both build-ups, drops, multiple sequences, and like a lot of the times I'm just not that good at drops sometimes. Like there's only one track that I have that I really like. There's like one part midway through where there's a drop where it like is that weird drop that is really good. I just really like. Everything else is just like winging it, and I usually try to just like drop to something fairly minimal.
Okay.
Like if I haven't been doing four to the floor, like if I'm doing like a polyrhythm or like 5/4 or something, right? Like, or like just really heavy Terminator freaking drums or something, right? Like I'll do a big build up, and then I'll go to like just four to the floor kicks and nothing else, and like maybe a Spartan lead or something. But
Yeah.
that works usually pretty well
Yeah. So
to
you
an
just kind of like
extent.
slowly build, keep adding elements, and then just pull it out to something less,
Yeah,
something minimal. Yeah.
yeah. But like some of it isn't even like meant to have drops. I know that we're like trained to listen for drops because we listen to a lot of
I think that's what makes your stuff
modern
appealing,
music.
though, is because it's just
Yeah,
like it's just you just keep driving, you know? Yeah,
yeah,
it's different.
yeah. Um, I'm just reading the chat. What is this drop? You speak of.
Yeah.
Uh, um, Schmooster, it's like when your automated your machine that's generating all of these rhythms decides to randomly do something completely different, and it sounds good. I don't know. It sounds good. It just makes you like want to like crouch over when it hits. I guess I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe it.
It's
Um,
just
'Cause it's
just
not
hits
like
you
it
in the
gets
face.
heavier. If anything, like less stuff is happening when you drop.
No, like you get like the halftime drop or something, or
Oh yeah,
for
halftime's a
me,
really
I
good
just
one.
I'm typically like pulling out the kick, going up to a drop, maybe going to a bar of silence, and then just smashing everything as loud as I can with a sidechain compression kick. That's how I do drops. So
Yep,
yeah.
and that works pretty good. I particularly like that way too heavily side chained. Like it can almost be a drone. It really, even the pitch almost doesn't matter. It could just be like a noise. But like we
Yep.
have that really heavy side chain and kick combo. Sounds really good.
How much do you use sidechain? Because that is, I got the cockpit 1U and I love it, but I'm like, am I over sidechaining my shit? I don't know, probably.
The
Uh,
the
but it,
problem is
yeah.
I have cockpit over in this Cosmos stuff, so I don't really know if I'm my levels are intended for it. But anyway, the thing is, with the cockpit, I found the sidechain attenuator goes
Mhm.
from like 0 to like way too much in like 1 to 2 millimeters for me. So I struggle with that one. That one I'm just doing a touch. But I've been doing sidechain a lot heavier with the muscle, WMD muscle over on the tiny Cosmo over there. And then I have that set up to go set up so that the bass is always going through it, because you can switch it off and on, like you can bypass it pretty nicely with its microscopic toggle.
Yeah.
And then I have another separate switch module that takes one of the lead voices I use in that case, and lets me bypass it, so I could sidechain either just the bass line or the bass and the lead, um, because sometimes you need the lead to not be sidechained.
Yeah. I
um,
I
yeah.
think they might have updated some features on the 1U version of the cockpit, but like you can sidechain individual channels, which is pretty cool,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's like notch based how it turns. So yeah, it is kind of
Oh,
like too much, too little kind of thing.
yeah.
But
That's the only complaint I have about, because I like that you can pick the channels on it. It's really fast, but
mhm. Yeah, but it's kind of like one of those you like don't want to touch it once you set it. Like,
yes, and I don't. I
yeah.
actually attenuate the signal because I'm sending in a. I was sending in an envelope,
Hmm.
a dedicated envelope just for sidechain for it. But to simplify it, I pulled it's the gate, or it might just be the drum sound from my system over into from one of these sides over to this side. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's because before, what I would do is um, program the side chain separately, meaning I would
Mm.
have a specific trigger just for a side chain, like a whole side chain track. And that's a really nice way to do it, particularly if you have a lot of kicks hitting and you don't
Yeah,
want to side chain every kick.
that makes
Um,
sense. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and uh, I think for simplicity, at least for the last few tracks I made, I've just got them all coming from the kick in this case, which is not ideal. I'll probably do the separate track, but I have to figure out a nice way to do that. I'll probably send a signal from Cosmo back over, something like that. I don't know,
Yeah, that makes
but
sense.
yeah.
I remember I tried some ratchet kicks and I was like, that's not working with the sidechain thing. But
Yeah,
that's because I have my kick gate going split to go to the sidechain input as well. So yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
but sometimes it's cool, like that. Here's that kick I was talking about earlier. Like really massive kick, right? But
Mhm.
if I have like a bass line going at the same time, it's kind of cool because you get like it comes back in louder afterwards, which is kind of
Yeah, yeah,
cool. But yeah, needs
yeah,
other stuff to go with it.
yeah.
Um, yeah, should we? I feel like this is we're just sponsored by WMD. Um,
WMD. Buy all their stuff that you can't buy anymore.
now that they're shutting down, we are sponsored by WMD. You're welcome. Um, no, yeah, I wanted to talk about WMD a little bit because you said you got an overseer.
Mm-hmm.
earlier before we started streaming. And you haven't plugged it in yet, right?
I know. I got it like a few days ago. I need to get it fit into the case. I do have the carbon filter though, which I freaking love.
the
That
the
that is
Yeah,
amazing.
the carbon filter I am running, like even if you do nothing with it, right? Like you have it completely open and it's not filtering out anything, and you put the saturation on a little bit, like
Yeah.
just beautiful. Um, I love that filter. The overseer is a funny one though because it's meant to be a DJ style filter, so right,
Mm-hmm.
but also one that you could modulate if you want. So you kind of have to make a decision during your patching. Do you want this like at the end of the chain so you can like DJ filter it, like
Yeah.
turn everything down and then talk over it and turn it back up, or do you want to like actually use it because it is a very good sounding filter with kind of a sweet resonance, and the tilt, so the stereo bit of it, um, can make a voice go pretty wild, like an
Yeah.
Icary but different.
Yeah. I'm excited for that one. Just
Yeah.
like I said, I was using the Squawk Dirty to me, but like it's like I'm fine. I can normally hit center when I'm here, but then like every time I go out to a show and it's dark, I can't see and I just miss center and I'm like, why does it sound wrong? Oh God. Like and like I realize I'm like filtering out the highs or something accidentally because I like missed center on it. So
Yeah.
very excited to have that fixed because I still miss center even practicing. So yeah.
I mean, yeah, so some of those troubles will go away. So like it's actually got a curve, or the way they've designed it is so it's got a pretty wide center. So even if you're not using the button, you can hit center pretty easily,
Nice.
um, without focusing on it or like lining your eye up with the little notch or anything like that. Like you don't need to do that. Um, it also has a button that lets you essentially bypass it, so turn it off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That was the key switch. So
And I don't even think you need that. I think most of the time you can hit center pretty easily, or hit the button, turn it up, turn it back on, that kind of thing. Like it's pretty solid, for that. But I do that hasn't prevented me from playing like 10 minutes with it like filtered, not
yeah,
realizing it, or like I'll turn it. I'll do the low pass a fair amount at the beginning of a set just to like
yeah,
slowly build up and do the 20-minute build. And like I think I did this uh on Monday night or like last week or something. Like whatever the last stream I did was, I picked up my phone to speak and that was being filtered out completely. um,
yep,
so
yeah,
there's still going to be some gotchas, but it does, make it very reliable.
yeah. And the carbon, the way I'm using that one is, so I'm only using like an IntelliGel 7U case, and that I told myself was going to be my max size for your rack. There's going to be another case soon, but at the
We all
moment,
lie to ourselves sometimes without
uh,
meaning to.
but what I do is I basically have like a quadrat, so I just run all my synth voices through the carbon at the end. So I don't run my drums or stuff through it, but I just
Yep.
like it's just like lets you just do an effect or kind of like add flavor or sound to like pretty much all the different voices, and yeah, that's how I've been using it and thoroughly enjoying it. So
Yeah. I mean, I do a very similar thing with the carbon where I have all of my drums go through it because I was
mm,
doing, this is actually right after I got the overseer. I was doing like a Terminator drums and playing with the overseer, and like did like, where you got super filtered drums and sort of bring them in. Like I got like really really fired up, and I was like, all right, I need a dedicated filter so I can do this without like necessarily filtering out all of my synth voices at the same time. Um, and so the carbon was the way to go, for me. Yeah,
yeah,
because
I'm using
I can
like
use it for other things too.
yeah, I'm running like PAMs into it, which you put at high speeds, you can do like effects, and then like I like putting it at
Yeah,
like low poly sounds in there, and then it's just like kind of slowly raising up and down, like off rhythm of everything, and you can just do so much stuff with that thing. It's glorious. And
yeah.
then like you just hit the wave folding thing, and you just have a totally different sound.
Oh my
And
gosh, instant gnarly.
yeah, it can get too gnarly at times. So sometimes I hit that, I'm like, fuck, scale that back. Yeah,
That's maybe those are the gnarliest modules, are the ones where you like a distortion or something where it might have been a minute since the last time you set the gain or something when it's like enabled. So you don't
Mhm.
really know. It's like a gamble. You're like, this could go well or this could not. Like
Yeah.
those are the gnarliest. Like my rat modules like that, where if I haven't like very precisely set it before I turn it on, it can be bad.
Yeah, I love that Schmooster also started with the 7U, and it's it's going to be enough. There's never going to needs to be more. There always is.
There's just never. Yep.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, just point behind you.
I
Yep.
did. I did make a New Year's resolution to not buy any more Eurorack. It's using StuJ rules, who's on a different server, but basically the idea is that I'm not going to buy anything new. Like I can replace an existing thing if I need to. Like if there's a caster in Pollux 2, hypothetically, I would probably upgrade to that.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna buy any more this year as long as I can.
Yeah.
Um, that does not include Cosmos stuff, but I also don't buy Cosmos stuff all that often. So
Yeah. Question. One other question I have for you, actually. That's
yeah.
as I think about my edition. The other thing I'm considering is another WMD performance mixer, or just a
Ooh.
one. I don't have one, but my question is: are you, with all your live streams, are you doing any pre-fader like monitoring? Are you like checking sounds before you go live with them, or are you just live? Yeah.
Yeah. So am I doing any queuing? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Are you doing any like queuing basically?
I use none of the queue functionality on the performance mixer. With the only real exception is when I need to like I might use the queue functionality at a live show. I've only used it once, and it was just to like tune my Mega Drone
Okay.
before the show. Like I didn't want to blast everybody, so queued it up.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I don't typically use that, and the reason I don't is because of the hay packs. Like everything is sequenced with the hay packs, so I don't really necessarily need to know like whether a particular drum rhythm that I'm about to switch on sounds good or not. Like I can just hit a button.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah, I was talking to
Which
Alex from WMD, and he's like, that's how he approaches live. Is he like gets his sounds built and like refines them, and then brings them live with the mixer. And I
yeah,
was like, that's cool. I don't know though. Like, I just it
I
seems
should try that. Like that's a really good idea. I think the thing that limits me is Cosmo. I have Cosmo audio going out of the cockpit too, and just over via a stereo set into the performance mixer,
mhm.
which means all of my Cosmo stuff, which are typically like my primary lead, a primary bass, and like some other random shit, Mega Drone or whatever. Uh, they're all going to the same input on the performance mixer.
Yeah.
Um, so that reduces what I could do if I'm just working with the tiny. If I'm working with Eurorack,
Your
um,
tiny Eurorack.
with the tiny stuff, I could totally see that. And actually, I'm gonna uh, take a note out of Alex's book because I didn't even thought about that too much, and try that out with a few of the voices that I have going like one channel per voice, and try that out to see how it works out because that could be pretty cool.
Yeah, it was interesting. Just a way to refine it in, and yeah, I don't know, something. Considering at a point, I'm definitely not able to do that right now with my setup. So I'm live. But again, the Hapax is cool because like
Yeah,
you can just it's so I just yeah, it's so much. Whenever I had the beat step, I was like combining multiple things on a single channel because I didn't have enough sequencer space. And so yeah, that has been a game changer. It makes it a little easier to not have to. So
yeah. I mean, I think I'm gonna try that for an upcoming stream just to like see like instead of because I have my headphones coming out of this mixer instead of the
yeah.
performance mixer, which means I don't have the cue ability. Instead, I'll try the other way around and see if I can like, you know, change a voice the way I like, or even like program a new sequence on that particular voice
Mm-hmm.
that no one but me can hear. So I don't have to worry about effing it
Then you
up.
can program a drop.
I can program a drop, except that involves drums. Those are always going.
That's true.
Usually involved, I don't know, percussion
Yeah.
for me. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool idea. And it's just not one I've messed with too much. And I think part of that is I eat up a lot of channels with some stereo stuff.
Yeah.
Like um, the stuff coming out of full size Cosmo is coming out in stereo, so that's one channel. You've got a stereo output from the data bender, potentially another channel, a stereo output from an iCurry, another channel, like stereo chorus, another channel. Like it just there's a lot of stereo things that eat up channels. So I have just all of those going to a single stereo submixer to
Yeah.
handle
I
all
end
of
up,
that.
I had my data bender that I ran through my Desmodus Versio just because like I would just only have one on at a time kind of thing. Cause I just like,
Yeah,
I don't have enough channels, you know? Yeah.
and I was
So,
doing something very similar with the Desmodus and Orion when I first got it.
mhm.
Um, but it was sort of in the wrong order. uh, Orion's funny because it's a single input, so it's just a single channel input. So if you're going to order those, right, you would think, okay, put the Orion first and then the Desmodus, right, so that you get the full stereo path.
Mhm.
Um, but Orion likes to live at the end of the chain, so uh, yeah. Instead, I put it on after Spring Reverb, Cosmo Spring Reverb, so that it has lots of nice high harmonics to do the. I can't remember the name of it. It's not chorus. It's phaser. Do the phaser thing with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because phaser gets lost really early in the chain. I think. I don't know,
Yeah.
unless it's pretty extreme. Um, yeah.
So I'm curious to like understand from you how you think about like when you go and approach and like build up a track. You always say like I start with some loose ideas or something like that. But like when you go into the like, because I feel like just looking at the stuff, you're just constantly putting out a ton of streams. I hear some sequences over and over sometimes, but like
Yeah.
it's in general, I'm just like it's pretty freaking. I don't know, man. I'm just curious how you do it because like for me, I've spent the past 2 months working on a 60-minute set, and you rock out like a 60-minute set every week. So I'm curious like how
Yes.
you approach that or how you think about doing this.
Reruns. Well, the way I
Yeah.
do it is I typically will make a new track uh, multiple times a week that I'm just having fun with, and if I'm vibing, I'll hit stream.
Mm-hmm.
If the chat is lively or if I'm just feeling like I keep going, then I pull out like the greatest hits album, right? Like I just pull out
Mm,
stuff that I've already got ready to go, which is why you hear those repeats. Um, but it took me a solid 6 months to get that hour
okay.
because I was prepping for DEF CON last year and I really wanted a solid set. So um, I needed an hour of good content or more, and so I looked back and like I found some tracks that I had done in the past that I'd liked and refined them, sequenced them in a way that's repeatable, and saved them and named them. Like as far as this is getting into like idiosyncratic sequencing shit, but like on my Hapax, I only name things as the day, so year, month,
Mm,
day. Um, unless because if I'm excited about it, I'll probably stream it.
mm-hmm.
If I go back to that stream and I like it, it's easy for me to find it because I just look for the track that was made near that day.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and then if I really like it, I'll give it a name. Like what is it, like Fight Club? What was that guy's name? Once
Tyler
you're
Durden.
Yeah, no, not
Yeah.
Tyler Durden, the guy who died, Meatloaf's character,
Oh yeah, yeah. Fuck.
uh,
His
something,
name
yeah.
is
Yeah,
Robert Paulson.
Robert Paulson. Yeah, yeah,
Paulson.
yeah. Here we go. It's like, but you don't have to die. You just have to be a track that I like, and then you get to be Robert Paulson or whatever.
Yeah.
Once they're named in the Hapax, if you're doing the year convention, like all like the year, month, day stuff, all is alphabetical, so that'll just be in order. But the name
Mm-hmm.
stuff will always be at the bottom because of that. So I can just scroll down to my name stuff, and that's the stuff that I can cycle through and play through at any time because that's stuff I've
Mm,
spent more time sequencing. Um, and repeating and just practicing. And a lot of these I'm just playing to practice,
Yeah, yeah.
um, because they're fun for me, or I'm feeling them, or I just want to practice them. Um,
Do you take like
and
notes on any like, shit, I need this setting to go with that sequence or stuff anywhere? Or
I used to, but that became too hard to do for an hour set.
yeah,
Like I can do it, and I do have some notes, but I try to keep it as fail proof as possible.
mm,
So like if I have to rely on me remembering to like turn off a reverb, turn the filter down, turn the resonance down, turn off the rat, flip over to a different bass line, switch my rample over to a different drum set. Like if I have to do all of that between tracks, there's a good chance I'm going to fail.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Right, no matter how good my notes are, there's just a good chance, especially in a live situation in person, where I get like a little bit worked up and stressed out.
yeah. It always
um,
happens. Yeah,
I mean, there's like in the middle of a track, like I am fully on, jam mode, having a good time, but like there's certain transitions or stuff that are pretty stressful. um, and so I spend a lot of time sort of optimizing the track order, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
which things sound good right after each other in terms of both tempo. Like, do I need a big tempo change between these or not? If it's minor, cool. If it's a big key change, how do I handle that? Do I need to change the synth voices significantly? Does this next track give me the opportunity to jam and play something fun? But it only uses like 3 voices. So then I have time during that to like prep for the next one. Like that kind of thing is something I thought about when I was planning it out. And and yeah, and like I also realized like some of that stuff doesn't matter as much. Like it doesn't have to be
yeah,
uh, exactly as I did it perfectly the first time in my head, right? um, and yeah, to your question, Device X asked, "Why is that? Why my tracks sound the same but different every time?" And the answer is like, yeah, kind of. I mean, if I'm not playing for a specific event, like if I'm playing an event, like I've practiced it and it'll probably sound pretty close to my practice. But if I'm just jamming, like, and that synth voice is not right and I know it, I'll just be like, you know what? Let's see
sounds
if it
cool.
sounds good. Like, let's do it. And if it doesn't, like, people know it's like I'm jamming. Like, there's gonna be some stuff that maybe doesn't sound perfect, so I'll go through and like fix that up. As long as I'm
Yeah,
not like cranking the resonance or something, or blowing my limiter up. I don't
yeah.
know. Yeah,
That's cool. That makes sense. Yeah, that's like I started putting in just like in my Paypacks names, like particularly if I need to switch my rample sample, like just the like F8 or K1 kind of stuff like that. And then I started putting BPM in there too. And then I
that's a
started,
really good idea.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it saves the BPM, but not always really. Because if you're like jamming on the other one, it doesn't always ask you to change it, and it's kind of terrible to start a track when it's like the BPM's way off from what
Right.
you play.
I can't think of a situation. I have yet to think of a situation where I want an immediate BPM
Yeah,
change from
no,
like
no.
130 to 160 or something. Like okay, if it's halftime or double time, you can probably get away with it. But I don't have anything like that. It's all within like 60 BPM of each other.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do take notes within my saving system. I haven't added Rample numbers, but I should start doing that since my Rample library naming is pretty much solidified at this point. Um, but what I do is I name my sequences with hex values, so starting with zero
Mm.
zero, 0 1, 0 2, and I'll change to the next digit up, so 1 0. When there's like a major change, if I'm doing a different melody or something, like just a vibe change or something, and then I do an underscore after whatever number it is. If I want to do like typically I use that for when I want just the last bar of a melody or something to play. Like I want to hit that sequence on that last bar, so I'll play like the first 3 bars, and then I'll hit that button to go to the last sequence on the last bar, and it might drop out all the elements except for the lead or something right before a drop, and then I'll go to the next thing. Asterisks are usually like the ones afterwards are like for me the safe numbers to go to because I'm never going to remember based on names and
Yeah.
stuff. So I just like I know like okay if I go there it'll probably sound good. It's not like halfway between a transition or something. It's like it's going to be full on.
Yeah. And so if I recall, because I watched
Yeah,
you're using the section and you're using the rows feature, right?
yeah.
How do you
Uh,
because I haven't actually started using sections. I just use the rows a lot. How do you distinguish
yeah.
when you use a section?
Yeah, so I pretty much sequence the whole thing out. I'll sequence like my ideal version of the performance of that particular project
Mm-hmm.
um, as sections,
Okay.
and I'll just go through what feels good. But that's more of like a guideline to help me when I come back in 6 months, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
the next time I play that when I'm not as familiar and I've forgotten some things, that gives me a good starting point because when I'm going through those in order, I'm also keeping an eye on the tracks
Mm-hmm.
and what's lit. And then I sort of learn what does what. And then once I've gone through like a good amount of sections, I'm like, okay, I know it's what. It's time for improv to happen again. And I
Yeah.
can just freeform it from there using the tracks.
Okay. Nice. Yeah. I've been kind of just building basically from the bottom up at this point, but I find that there's some points where that's can be kind of limiting. I feel like because you're just like, wow, like I want this just like, like to try to do like two changes. I want like the snare to go and then the snare to go again, like faster. Then it's just like, well, like shit, that doesn't really work. Or it's going to take me 2 bars to do that little like transition thing in 2 rows or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah, I think there's some Hapax features I'd like to explore some more. So, because I have that same issue. So, like, let's say you have instead of four to the floor kick, you have four to the floor snare. So every quarter
Mm-hmm.
note, right? Um, and you're building up you're doing a build up, right? And
Mm-hmm.
you want to essentially double that and then maybe do 16th notes and maybe do 30 seconds right before it drops, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, which is why you never hear me do that, you have to like do multiple tracks and then you've got like one single track with four to six of the sequences are just that, right?
Yep.
And you could do it all in one long sequence, right? Like, just have to hit it right. Um,
Yeah.
but I think there's probably a better way to do that. I almost wonder if that kind of thing would be better to do with like, so on the drum tracks, you could just do a whole bar, like a single bar note for the snare, and then use the math to divide it up. And then I wonder if you could
Yeah.
assign that division to another knob somewhere. So you could like essentially crank that up to do
Yeah. That's super interesting. Yeah.
smarter and smarter division. I don't know. That's something I haven't tried. I don't even know if you can do, but I think there's some things like that that I'd like to get into because I would love to be able to do that on demand rather than necessarily sequencing it.
Yeah. I'm at the point right now where I kind of got the accessible Hapax. I'm going through the manual and like screenshotting things to remember because I'm just like, this thing is so much deeper. There's it's so many things that you can do with it. It's wild. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I should read through that too. I've only read the original Apex manual, and like change log notes, but but I think it's one of those that is a genuine slog to learn a bit. Like I was familiar with the pyramid, so I had like a head start, but it took me a while to learn the pyramid.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel
but
like I learned it quickly, but I'm just like, it's just the depth of it. Like I just was like, oh wait, what? You can assign these knobs up here to oh what? Like, and so it's just like
right,
things like that that they're not immediately accessible. All the second functions, like there's so much more, but like I feel like it was pretty easy to like pick up and learn like how to just program some sequences and get that going. But now it's just like there's so many things that I'm looking at. I'm like, what does that do? I don't
that's
know.
good to
Like,
hear because like,
yeah.
that's how I treat it. Learning it was like I don't really care about all the special functions. I don't give a hoot about automation, right? Like I don't care about the
Mm-hmm.
generative stuff. Like I just want to focus on like getting stuff done first. And
Mm-hmm.
once I'm happy with that, then it's like, oh, what's this little new thing I have over here that I haven't looked at yet? Like it
Yeah.
just like unfolds as you're willing to go a little bit deeper. And I'm still not all the way in. Like I just started using automation and things like that over the last month. And it's been a lot of fun. It's not something I would like you need to start with by any means, but it is pretty fun, especially if you're sequencing like the mini log or something where you have a shit ton of CC values you could automate.
Yeah. No, makes sense.
With modular, it's like who cares? Like you could if you have a mutant brain with some extra CV channels, you can assign those, which I do. But if you don't, like,
I set up one of my mutant brain channels for the modulation or automation, and I just like forgot.
yeah,
Never used it. Like, and I was just like, or I'll just grab that knob and play with it. It's just like it was just hard to try to program it and think about it. So yeah.
we'll talk about that after. I don't want to spend too much time on the pox as much
Yeah.
as like higher level ideas. Yeah, I really. This is getting me hyped up to get going. Like just the thought of like messing with stuff while it's queued up and not like live is exciting to me. And I also haven't like turned on my synth in like a week, which is too much. But it's been a busy week.
It's calling your name. So
it is. It was today. I was like halfway through the workday, and I was like, is
my
it
synth
too
is
early
like
to start warming up the bass?
like 50, if I'm like having a stressful work day, I'm just like 15 minutes on my synth, and
Yep.
like I'm back in a good spot.
Yep.
So
Yep. Yeah, that's the way to go. Tupperwave.
Yeah, I want to know what this Tupperwave is.
Yeah, dude, let's start Tupperwave. Let's go. I'm feeling like some people I know have some Tupperware synths, where you're like building a DIY synth, but like all you have is like a piece of plastic Tupperware. I've seen a few of those. Tupperwave.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. I don't know. Like I'm really. Oh, WMD again.
All right.
Yeah, I am. So I purchased the modules last year, so it doesn't count against my thing. But eventually, I am getting I think 2 legions in a subway. I caved and got a second legion later on. Not because I needed to, but because it fit nicely in the space. And yeah. Anyway, the subway is the module that I have of all of the modules that were released last year. Like there were incredible modules. The Sophia is like from Chaos, just magnificent. There were so many cool sequencers, the Stolper beats, but the Subway is the one I'm the most excited for like really dumb reasons. I'm like, oh, I could change from one to the voice to the other or use both.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's got 8 channels, and I'm like, I could use it for 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that one to see what kind of hijinks I can get up to with that.
Nice. I just
yeah.
One of the other ones I just got, which before I go on my pause from buying as well, I got the Vert Eater Legio from Noise Engineering. So it's one of their Legio units, I think, or Legio. I don't know how to say it properly.
I'm trying to remember which one that is. That's not the drum.
No, it's their oscillator basically.
So the stereo oscillator. That was the
stereo
first
6 HP oscillator.
Yeah.
And so snagged one of those used from a guy on CMSS, and that's one I also just have not plugged in. But like that one, I'm excited for, and I just love the Noise Engineering, like the Versio. Now they've got the second format. I'm just like, yes, like I must have these because like you get bored and you just switch something out,
They are super tempting, and like they all have very specific flavor. Like I like Noise Engineering because they have very opinionated designs. They're not trying to do everything with one module.
Mm-hmm.
And these modules are like the Versios and the Legios.
Yeah.
It's going to be like GIF and GIF, isn't it? It's like Legio or Legio. They give you that. You only have to get one. I suggest avoiding, like, if you want to get like the generic panels, that's cool, but I go for the panel I think looks the coolest. So like I got the Desmodas because I like the bat.
Yep.
And the reverb was really nice, but I just don't. I'm not a reverb person really, for the most part. So I tried some of the other things. I went through the full spectrum of reverb to delays. They have like 3 or 4 of those. Tried them. I think it's just 3, but I tried them all, and they're all really good. But none of them are like really what I was looking for in any of those types of modules. And then I tried, just on a whim, the Ruina
Yep.
Versio, and I was like, not that I needed more distortion, but this is a weird distortion that I really like because it almost feels like you're adding like another voice, a stereo voice or something. It's pretty cool. But I like that you have the opportunity to change those things, and the Legio continues that. Like if I want to try like their version of is it a dynamics processor or something like that? They've got the oscillator, which sounds great, and the drum one is like the greatest hits from the BIA. I think it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which makes me tempted to get the Timp Legio instead of a BIA, but that'll be like a next year decision.
You're going a full year without buying anything new.
I'll do my best. If I don't, you can do the shame thing from Game of Thrones to me, but I'll keep my clothes on.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there an I in Elegio? No, it's just Legio. The Stolper Beats is insanely cool. I tried it,
Okay.
and it instantly makes anyone awesome musician. If you have no skill at all, you play with Stolper, you have mad rhythm.
Is this how you're doing your drum and bass stuff recently? Or how are you doing
No,
the drum now? How are you doing drum and bass?
no, I programmed it in
Okay.
two different ways. So there's the cheating way. One, you have the Rample kit. That's great. M7 if you've got a Rample.
What number?
M7.
M7. Checking that out.
Yep, it plays nicely between around 140 to 160 BPM.
Okay.
Probably faster. I don't know. I think I usually top out around 160 because then the transitions are so tight in terms of timing that I can't think and do fast anyway. And then I also just like program in the sequences. So I'll have hold on just a second. Like this sequence, I don't know if you can hear that. There's probably some noise canceling. Let me get that turned off for a second. Did that make any difference? Okay, right. And then you add some of that Rample kit in. Right, like pretty straightforward. Yeah,
that's sweet. Yeah, I'll try some of that. I just keep. I need to. These are all like you know. I feel like when you're doing music, there's just like you learn. You're like, this is an area I need to work on, and I'm like right now, I'm like, I got some pretty simple drums, and like getting some better program stuff or leveling up some rhythms there, and it's just like you kind of get good enough in areas, and then you stagnate, and you just go like, oh, okay, that's what I need to focus on for a bit. So.
Yeah, I'm not like the most DNB person, but some of my DJ friends are like hardcore into DNB, and they're like, "When you do DNB, you gotta let me know." And I was like, "Well, it's gonna be a New Year's Eve stream train that's heavily DNB themed, so I'll give it a shot." And it pushes you in fun ways. Like, I definitely cheated. I was like, "I'm gonna break out the Amen break because I feel like it," but. And I was also like, I'd listen to them play, so I had some new ideas as to how I wanted the drums to sound and like what I might do with the audio, like the melodies and stuff. Because I like it's still like me melodies, but I think one thing that I think about all the time, or don't think of, I don't know. One thing that occurs to me a lot is when I'm struggling, it's often because I'm trying to hold on. My battery is so dramatic. Died.
Oh,
Good
good.
thing I got a second one. All right. What was I saying? Oh, when I'm stuck, I'm trying to often do something, I don't know, like complex or uh, advanced, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
want to make a melody that's nifty or interesting or whatever. And sometimes I think it's just okay to be dumb.
Yeah.
Like some of my favorite melodies are like da 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 da. Like it's the same note. Like I stop trying to be advanced, like, and I have a good time. And that goes to the drums too. Like sometimes I'll mess around with some drums and like be like, okay, I'm tired of 4 on the 4. I'll pull those out and like do some other stuff and get a good feel for it. And then I'm like, well, but what if I'm done with this and like drag my finger across like the closed hat or something, right? Like, and pull a few of those out. Like, just
Yeah.
some of the best stuff is when I'm just like being dumb with it and not trying to think about it too hard. I'm not like trying to compose it in my head, I guess is the one way of saying it. It's like, like I'm stuck. Let's just see what happens, like,
Yeah. Yeah. Just have fun with it and like
yeah.
with it. Yeah. Yeah. No, I definitely get that.
Um, so yeah, like that's how I get unstuck. And sometimes there's just like nothing I can do. Like I will have a massive buildup, and this is not even on a stream, just when I'm like, doing the initial sequencing and things. I'll be like, this is sick. The drop's gonna be rad. And then like I can just never do the drop, and that track just stays as a date forever. Because that's
I feel
fine. I
like
might come back to it later.
the simplest thing I found, because like what I'll just do, I just kind of like build it. If you want to do a drop, it's like you just build, and then you kind of like mute everything down to like one thing,
Yeah.
and then you just bring it all back in, but you add one other bigger thing. And that's like that's like the simple way. I don't know.
Well, like one of my favorite drops. Let me load this up. Load pirates. Yeah. Wait, what?
Pirates, it's got a name.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure I saved it as the wrong BPM. So let's fix that first. Should be 137. Save. Um, anyway, there's a bit here. I'm trying to think. Maybe it's not pirates. Maybe it's just a sec. I don't have that many, so it won't take me that long to find. Maybe it's one of these. Let's see. Yeah, this drop. The voices aren't right, but like I'm going from like I did it wrong. But anyway, like it's a weird one. Like it's a different beat, and it's an
Yeah.
awesome drop when I do it actually in context. And oh geez, I had the sounds were all messed up, weren't they?
You can still hear it pretty good.
Yeah, that's okay. The funny thing about that one is it's my favorite drop when all the voices are in the right settings and stuff, because it just like you just feel it. Like it goes from like this big build up to like yeah, cool, like almost like a halftime vibe. And I could never figure out how to fit it in more than once. Like it's only in that like 20-minute song once.
Yeah. Sometimes you do it more than once, and it's just like, oh, that's just got old.
Yeah.
And some you can just do again and again.
And I can't leave it playing for very long either. I can only do like 2 passes of it, and then I have to go to the next thing.
Yeah.
But definitely my favorite thing. And Tim just bought the BIAVST software, which has cool visual. Like I think their software looks really.
It does look sweet. Because I actually saw them and I was like, and I feel like they kind of. I was actually watching their video on like they're doing a lot more video content too, and they did one on like cool ways to use the Desmodus, like 5 cool ways to use the Desmodus, which I'm loving those videos because they're just like pretty good inspiration. And I'm like, wow, they've actually made this almost easier and more accessible than like the actual physical ones in some ways, and how they've designed them. So
I think they're way better than the physical ones in terms of capabilities. Like they're really cool, and I was initially like, what are they doing? Why would they bother? There's a million VSTs, but like, I think it's smart of them to diversify. So they've not only got
Mm-hmm.
paid VSTs out there, like, so they've made a name with some of their VSTs being free, and they're the ones that are free are still like, I can't believe you did that for free.
Yeah.
Um, they've got the paid ones, which is a good business model. They've got some partnerships going. I don't know with what if any other companies, but they're in the Micro Freak and the Mini Freak, and then I guarantee almost all of the epic sounds you heard during the launch trailers were from some of their oscillators. Um, like they've got a good model. Like I think they're trying to make sure they don't have all of their eggs in one basket, which is a smart
Yeah. I
plan
think
for a
plugins
software.
are a
Yeah,
smart model for music. It's just, I mean, it's pure profit once they write it, It's
yeah,
just versus the hardware and
yeah.
challenges of
I
sourcing.
mean,
So
there's
it's,
maintenance aspect to it, but they're different. Plugins are kind of funny because they sort of remind me of well, they're just like they pretend to be hardware, right? Like once they're out, like there's not usually like people aren't expecting new features in that plugin every time. They just have like
mm-hmm.
their plugin. They just want it to work. So the updates are like, okay, a new Mac chip came out, they have to make it work, that kind of thing.
Yeah, which can be frustrating. I do
Yeah.
love gear over plugins. I uninstalled all my plugins on Ableton. I'm just fully gear based now. I started off in Ableton years ago, and I abandoned it all, uninstalled it all this year, and now I just use Ableton to record some stuff every now and then.
Yeah. I mean, I want I get torn. I don't much care for editing
Mm.
tracks in Ableton because I get overly concerned with like perfect bits of here and there and all that EQ and all
Yeah,
that. Like, um, but I do really enjoy the sounds that you get out of the VSTs and things. And really, like the truth is, like nothing we're doing in modular really can
yeah,
compete.
yeah, yeah.
Like, sorry, like
It's
you can
just
do some sound design stuff, but yeah.
it's yeah. There's some things like that in the gear that are cool, but it's like it's Ableton's always going to sound cleaner. It's just always going to sound more polished and more
And that's
professional.
fine.
And yeah,
Yeah, it is
but
what it is.
I don't
And I've
want
been looking
to.
at it recently for like learning purposes. Like I got a MIDI controller that's that green thing behind uh, this shoulder, up right
Yeah, yeah,
where the
yeah,
drum
yeah.
root impacts used to be. Um, and that's just a basic MIDI controller. And I got it with the idea that I could play this keyboard here, which you can't probably see,
Mm-hmm.
and it would sit right here. And I could not only practice, like I legit want to get like a little bit better at keyboard so I can play some things in live rather than everything being sequenced. And this is just a personal goal. I feel no pressure from anybody to do this. I just, it's a fun thing for me to do. And I thought, okay, but if I can like play with the voices a little bit, that'll keep me going longer when I'm playing. So that's how I've been using that.
Nice. No, that's yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, for me a big part of this all is just like getting away from the computer as much as I
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
I started doing the visual stuff, which does involve a computer, um, and using like Resolume to do those visuals, which is cool. But even then, like I find myself playing 70% of the time without the visuals, because like I don't want to set up my computer again and like get it all worked up. It's just yeah.
That was the struggle I had. So that's why like early on, some of my streams had really cool like oscilloscope images
Mm-hmm.
that were making the sounds, and those were coming from Ableton. So I'd have to like set up my computer just right and do like loop back and all of that shit because like it's got to go out to this and then back into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the setup time, even if it's just loading up a file and like setting up loopback, was like enough of a hassle and not reliable enough that I just didn't want to do it anymore. Um, I now use the M8 for that, so I basically use Ableton to like record all of these generated samples I make,
Mm.
save them in C, and then I drop them onto the M8, and then I can play them that way.
Okay,
Which
that's
is
smart.
closer to hardware. Yeah, it's still software, but at least is like fully reliable. And I could use probably a Bitbox Micro or something like that for it. But yeah,
Yeah.
I like you. I just didn't want to like. I don't want to fight software when I'm playing. It's really annoying to the point. Like even with visualizations, I wanted something that was like pretty lo-fi that could be hands off. So like my oscilloscope that I
Mm-hmm.
rescued from the graveyard
Yeah.
there
Those things are sweet.
was awesome, and I love the visuals from it. And then this other one is Critter and Guitari Video Synth, which is like I think pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Does other similar lo-fi things, but it's to the point where like, yeah, I want to be able to see the chat when I'm playing, right? But I don't want a tablet or something or a screen on camera. I don't even want to look at a screen like that.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, I've spent a bunch of time invested in like researching like, okay, how do I get like the chat from Restream out into that TV like at the same time as the visualizer, like, you know, like how can I get it in 480p as God intended, you know, like I don't know. And
Yeah.
there's no reasonable solution for that. You need like a video mixer and then potentially another thing. It's just like a whole set of hardware that I don't want to deal with.
Yeah. I've got some friends down here in Fort Collins that have video synths, and like that is a whole nother world that I'm not ready to dive into.
Yeah, there's one guy, totally blanking the name, from Colorado Modular Society that is like next level in terms of like the video setup they have. Loads of monitors, all sorts of cool stuff. Mind blowing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't ready to be like, I need to drop $400 to get this ancient video mixer that does the thing that I need, plus some other dollars to like get a 480p chat, you know, like.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Probably not
one
it.
day,
Yep.
if anybody out there wants to get rid of a video mixer thingy that'll do that, like mix two signals together like this at the same time, that'd be great. Let me know.
Yep. Oh man.
All right, I think we've gone a little long. Is there anything else you want to add, or you want to just ready to cut it?
I think
All
I'm good,
right.
man. Yeah, I just have to say though, one other thing here. You were the first live modular show I went to. I moved out to Colorado, and I go to Patched Out, and I see you play, and I'm just like, "Fuck, man, this is awesome!" And I feel like you set the bar real high for modular shows. So, just got to give you that kudos, man. That was freaking it was awesome to see. So, yeah,
Thanks. That was a fun show. Like, I really want to go to more of those, and I just, particularly this time of year, like I am really hyped up about them now, especially after doing them in person. But it's a 2-hour drive from me from where I am
yeah. I realized.
over a mountain pass.
Yeah, I was looking. I was like, because you talked about inviting me up to Granby. It's I'm like, oh, like the pass is closed, so it's like 3 hours to get to you right now. Like,
Oh yeah,
but
to get to where you are, yeah, we can't take the Ridge Road or something like that. Yeah, the one that goes to Rocky Mountain, um, which I do have a commuter pass for, but it's not useful in the winter because it's like 50 feet of snow on top of it.
yep. So we'll hang in the summers.
Yeah, yeah. Funny how that works. We're not that far as bird flies, but yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
thanks for everybody watching for coming
Yeah.
on.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for coming on. I don't know if I have anything queued up. Oh yeah, I was just playing something, huh?
Yeah. Just play it,
Yeah.
man.
Should I play this out?
Play us out.
All right. Mute my dang mic.